You know, the AT product to me really came by default. We just booked Daniel for DW Sound, did a tour. It was basically me sitting on an acoustic guitar, and having a long enough lead at a sound check one afternoon made me realise these speakers were special too, was to be able to go out, hear what they're actually hearing in the front row of an audience. And that was the thing that really turned me. I thought to myself, wow, I've got to talk to AT and see if I can make sure that I can continue to use it wherever we go. And all over Australia when we've toured, it's been great to be able to sort of even do the same long lead trick with the acoustic guitar and just have a listen to what the speakers are doing in any room. And we've had small rooms where we've had to take tiny bits of stuff you'd use for foldback, or we've had huge rooms that have had problems in the past with, you know, lots of really bad delays, and yet not even having to use delay stacks and things like that in some rooms has been a real treat. And AT has been able to cover every aspect of our touring, and I think that's a PA that speaks for itself. My relationship with DW Sound and Daniel Webb started about 7 years ago, and really good to know that everything that Daniel brings out on the road is going to be the cutting edge of what they're actually designing at AT as well. And I've had so many reports out the front of house of the sound of those speakers for their size, and it becomes one of those things you get a bit blasé about. But it's so nice to hear that about the show, I think, is the fact that, you know, Daniel's crew, the people that he has with him will make it positive as well. But having that gear out the front that they want to bring to our shows makes our job so much easier. We never have anyone coming up saying, oh, it's too loud or it's too harsh. It's always the best sound we can get each night we step on stage. And that, to me, is my security blanket. AT provide that for me. Like I say, I think the thing that really gets me is the fact that not only are they produced and developed here in Brisbane itself, but I love local grown products, you know. I think there's something to be said for people that have passion. My whole music career has been driven by passion as well. I think that's why I was drawn to them in the first place. Got a chance to go and see the warehouse, go from where they're, you know, doing up drivers to where they're putting the speaker boxes together. I get a thrill out of that. I get a thrill out of seeing how things are put together. I like the technical side of things, but then I love the end result. I think that after 7 years of being able to say that we've just had the best sound possible, and it's actually a local product, that's something that I get a huge thrill out of. And it makes you proud. Something that's made in Queensland that people are raving about all over the country is a good thing.
I first introduced the system to Troy Cassar-Daley, and he fell in love with it so much that he had to come to the factory and check it out. You know, he's one of those guys that really, when he hears something and loves it, he believes in it. And yeah, he's now endorsing the FIREBIRD system. He's loves it so much. We go everywhere with him. We do all of his shows, and yeah, he's just completely and utterly blown away with the fact that that size system can go into any venue and sound so fantastic. That's a thing.
I've been using AT cabinets since late 90s, when I was still working in radio. I started developing my own little business then. Now I solely dedicate my business to the high-end radio industry of doing their outside broadcasts. And when I left radio in 2001, I invested heavily in Acoustic Technologies, first and foremost with the FR01s, SFM09s, and then I slowly progressed through to the SS24s, and then finally the FIREBIRD system, which was a natural progression for me to grow with my business in the radio, because radio was starting to ask for bigger production, bigger PAs, therefore catering for bigger crowds and whatnot. So my business naturally evolved, and as I said, when I was able to progress to the FIREBIRD, it was just a whole new kettle of fish. It was just amazing. Again, the ability to plug a microphone into a mixer, and then into an amplifier and into a speaker, and have it sound wonderful from the go was just awesome. I've got an EQ in my rack, but it doesn't get used. I've had a lot of guys use my system for outdoors and indoor gigs, and they've just gone, wow.
I was presented in Brisbane particularly with a lot of Tomcat series systems, and they were great when you had, like, two or three aside. It was a big sound, and what's great now is that not much bigger than that is a FIREBIRD, and very easy to get up, but you've got 4 times the power of a Tomcat, effectively, and so that's been our only big system, and having 2 like some of the other guys is great, because then you can either you can bring some of your subs together or do multi-stage festivals without that big SPL bubble at the stage that people complain about in the neighbourhood and all that sort of thing. And because you've got such a great coverage, it's not about watts anymore. It's about getting to your audience.
Have been touring with the FIREBIRD system for 4.5 years, from Cairns to Melbourne and regionally, out west and that sort of thing, and have never found a venue that it can't do. It's just an amazing piece of technology that just works in every facet. Its dispersion pattern is just unbelievable. You get into some venues and you think, I might have need some infill or something to get those front people right down the front of the stage, and every time it just blows me away that the off-axis top end is just amazing. It really is fantastic.
Well, the FIREBIRD, I originally had the TLA 308 system, and which is basically a modular line array, and it was a great system. It's the most beautiful sounding system I'd heard up to that point, and it was just delivered everything I wanted to do. And getting to my age, you sort of starts looking at more compact systems. For this box, for a plug and play system, like 5 minutes to set it up. I mean, I can actually stack this thing myself. Which a system like this in the old days, to get the horsepower that this thing will put out, the articulation of the whole system, dispersion is actually one reason why I really wanted it. I mean, 150 degrees dispersion, and this thing is just plug it in, turn it on, and it's beautiful flat sounding system to start with, and just could not be happier with it.
We've been using the SS24s with the FIREBIRD subs, and that's been amazing. That's a great system. But then just to step up straight to the FIREBIRD and do some of the sound art gigs. The great thing about an array is that you don't have to work very hard to realise what they're trying to project as a sound artist. Effectively, they don't want you to compress and EQ and muck around with their sound as much. And if they walk out the front and they hear what they need to hear, and you haven't done anything yet, then that's a great foot to step forward on on the journey with these guys, because they're very particular, and they're also very used to not getting a sound check and not getting a good sound and that sort of thing. And the FIREBIRD just presents very well. And
I've been proved to be brilliant. I've been most impressed by the latest HD7 amplifiers that he's been using. Massive amounts of horsepower, and as clean as you'll find on the market. Locating points on your subs and your tops, so you don't have to secure the cabinet once it's stacked. Basically, you just bang it straight up, and you can put as much horsepower through that as possible, and you're not going to get any movement out of the system whatsoever. And also, with standard fly track rigging, very simple and quick, easy flying setup. You can basically get this thing in the air in a couple of minutes without any problems whatsoever. It also comes with a 96K processor, 2-in 6-out digital processor, which makes such a difference to the system compared to the other processors we had been using prior to it.
It's just compact too, as you can see right behind me. This is a whole system, 30 or 35,000 watt PA, and as you can see, it's just so small. And what you get out of it is just staggering. One of my larger corporate clients is Australia Zoo. For the last 3 years now, I've used the FIREBIRD for John Williamson's performance on Australia Day. 5,000 people in what is a concrete jungle up there. But every time the sound engineers come up with John, he has basically just brought up the faders, done some small EQ on the channel strips, and he's just stood back and gone, that's incredible. Even their manager, John's manager, the first time I used it, it was funny. He went out, had a listen, and he came back, and him and his lighting director stood there looking at the system going, how is this possible?